What's going on, YouTube? Joe here on a Monday. Down in the shop. And what's turning out to be another very cold day here in Nashville. It was just one of those things where it's just so weird here in Nashville because we've got this roller coaster thing that goes on where the temperatures go down and they go up and they go down. And if you're not careful, you could get sick just from the roller coaster temperatures, I'll tell you. Yesterday, for example, it was 64 degrees in Nashville. 64! And just a few days earlier, it had been highs in the 20s. Today, the temperatures are falling, another cold front, and falling through the 20s. It's going to be in the teens by late this afternoon, and it's going to go down to single digits tonight, and only going to be in the teens for high tomorrow. It's crazy. The only thing I can take away from the very, very cold winter we're having this year is the fact that maybe it'll help control some of the pest population, if you will, some of the bugs and things. I know I've told you before about the ladybug infestation that we have in this area of the country. That's just incredible. And I was looking around the shop this morning, and I thought, yesterday would have been a great day for them to kind of come back, but they kind of come back out when it warms up and try to find a place to winter, and then kind of die. It's just weird. But usually they'll come in the shop here down in my basement area, and through these vents that we have, the foundation vents that you have in a house. That's basically what I have for windows in my shop. But they'll come in, and they'll get around the lights and everything and then fall and die all over the floor and my work benches, and when I have to vacuum them up and whatever. But today I've come in, and evidently they didn't come out during the warm weather yesterday, which is good. Maybe we're done with them for the year. I really hope. Flea season was pretty bad around here too. I think I've mentioned that to you before. Dawn dishwashing liquid. Wash your dogs in that. And if they're bad in other places, spray down with some spray or whatever, or mix up some and spray it down on the floors and wipe it up. That stuff is amazing. Kills fleas. Oh, by the way, I am smoking one of my shop pipes today. This was a rippled poker I did some time back. Kept it for myself. Well, maybe a couple of years ago. Smoking some Pelican in it this morning. I got to head to the post office here shortly and send out a bunch of pipes that I made last week. Those of you who know you're getting those, I've already told you about them, so they're on the way. Or will be on the way since I'll take them to the post office here in a minute. What else? I got a little Grammy rant for you. Did you watch the Grammys last night? Are you into that? Here I am. I kind of like the Grammys because I'm still a radio guy, and radio my background, and they still honor a lot of people from the past. And they had Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr together last night. That was incredible. Loved that. Some of the newer stuff I couldn't give two toots for. Some of it's pretty cool. But there was a glaring error last night. Oh, before I tell you about that, let me tell you what I did. I watched the Grammys, and I watched the Pro Bowl at the same time. The Pro Bowl, which is the all-star NFL game, in case you were not too familiar with the American football. And in recent years, the Pro Bowl has taken a bad rap because it's like the players get out there and they take the money for coming out there and take the Hawaii. They play it in Hawaii every year. It used to be it was the week after the Super Bowl so that the Super Bowl participants could play in the Pro Bowl. But they have it the week before the Super Bowl now. And I like it better when it was after. But in recent years, it's gotten real slack. It's been a terrible game to watch. Nobody makes an effort out there, and you're watching these big guys out there, and you try to kill yourselves during the year, but here on this, it's like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself because, I don't want to do that because I might miss out on my millions of dollars or whatever. But I guess the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, kind of put down the word on them that, if you like this Hawaiian vacation we give you every year for being an all-star, you'd better start playing some football. Well, they changed the format up. It used to be there are two conferences in our NFL, the AFC and the NFC. And usually the AFC All-Stars will play the NFC All-Stars, and that's the way it's been. This year they decided to change up the format, and they had Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice, two amazing Hall of Famer players, and they picked them to pick teams. So they had a draft of all the eligible All-Stars, and so you had All-Star teams made up where some of their regular teammates, for example, some guys from the Kansas City Chiefs were on one team, and some of the guys from Kansas City Chiefs were on the other team playing against each other. That was pretty cool. I like that. And they actually played hard. I know there were some that let off a little bit, but they played pretty hard. There were some pretty hard hits in there. There were guys flipping guys up in the air. I mean, it was pretty good. And it wound up, the game was like 22-21. The Jerry Rice team won. And that was cool. In years past, it's been like 40-something to whatever. I mean, the defenses didn't play. They just let them score, blah, blah, blah. Just get the game out of the way. You know what? I'm pretty excited to watch next year. That was cool. A lot better. Maybe not totally there yet, but a lot better. Now, you're probably asking, started talking about the Grammys. How did you watch the Grammys and the Pro Bowl? Because they were on at the same time. Well, a little thing called a DVR. It worked great. I was recording both. And what I did was, when you go back to your recording list and you go to the other show, it pauses the one you were watching if you're recording it. So let's say we started out watching the Pro Bowl, which was on about a half hour before. And so I just went up after it started recording the Grammys. I went up to my list and hit play the Grammys. Well, it put the Pro Bowl on pause. That was cool. So we watched a few minutes of the Grammys, blah, 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 blah. And then I would go back and resume playing the Pro Bowl. When I did that, it would pause the Grammys. So I was going back and forth and back and forth. That was kind of probably driving my wife crazy, but there were times when we would go, I'm not too crazy about this song or this performer, so let's go back to the Pro Bowl. And then we'd watch, the Pro Bowl. And, okay, they scored. Okay, let's go back to the Grammys. But, okay, I told you what I thought about the Pro Bowl. Tell you what I think about the Grammys. Good show, all in all. But there was a glaring error in it last night. Glaring error. If you hear what I'm saying about the error. And it was in the in memoriam segment, where they list all those people who have passed away, and there seem to be a lot of them this year. But they list all of them, do this special tribute to them as they put their pictures up and everything. But they left somebody out. They left out the one and only Gordon Stoker. You may say, who's Gordon Stoker? Gordon Stoker was a founding member of a quartet called the Jordanaires. If you are an Elvis Presley fan, the history of Elvis was that when he was younger, he heard the Jordanaires. And as he started singing, he said, one day, when I get a record deal, I'm going to have the Jordanaires to back me up. He did, had the Jordanaires to back him up for many tunes in the late 50s and into the 60s. Gordon Stoker and the Jordanaires also backed up many other artists as well. And the Jordanaires were with Elvis on his first appearance on the Elvis Presley show, and I think his second appearance as well. And you could see them in the background as he was singing. As a matter of fact, on my Instagram, go to my Instagram, Joe Case, and you'll see a picture I put up of Elvis's 1957 appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, and you'll see Gordon Stoker there in the background. But anyway, Gordon is a multi-Grammy award winner with the Jordanaires for his role in backing up on a lot of songs over the years. He lived in Nashville. He passed away this past March. I think he was like 84, I believe, somewhere in there. His son, Brent, still lives in Nashville. His family still lives in Nashville. And I saw a note from Brent this morning. Honestly, I didn't think about it when I saw the in memoriam thing until Brent, Gordon's son, said something on Facebook today that they were kind of hurt. He was very humble about it. He said they were kind of hurt and disappointed that they didn't mention his dad. And I thought, oh my word, what a glaring error for the Grammys. I sure hope that the Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, whatever it's called, will do something to make up for that complete error on their part of leaving out the legendary Gordon Stoker of the Jordanaires. That was something. Okay, so there's my little rant on the Grammys from last night. Otherwise, I thought, what I watched last night was pretty good. Pink, the artist Pink, did her Cirque du Soleil impersonation, swinging around above while singing. And I read somewhere, and my wife was pointing out, that Pink says she doesn't do lip syncing, that she really sings during those performances. So I kind of listened and watched pretty intently during that. And yeah, you could hear some of the breaths she was trying to take during her performance and during that wow thing. You get to watch, if you haven't watched it and you get to watch the Grammys, you'll probably see that part. My favorite part of the night was Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr performing together. Oh my goodness. 50 years ago, February 9th, 50 years ago, they performed for the first time on the Ed Sullivan Show. And I remember, I was a tiny, I think I was about 7 years old or something, but I remember my mom and dad pulling the kitchen table in. We had this thing where we had to eat at the kitchen table. So for, as we called it, supper, we would sit at the kitchen table. But at that night, my dad or my mom was just dying to watch Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show. So they pulled the kitchen table into the living room. My dad did. So we sat down at the kitchen table in the living room where the TV was and watched Elvis Presley on the, not Elvis Presley, but the Beatles. Watched the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show for the first time 50 years ago, February 9th. I distinctly remember that. That was wild. I think they're having a special on CBS that night about that. Okay, enough time rambling around. Happy Monday to everybody. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. God bless you all, and we'll catch you next time.